Welcome to Southern Steep, the public health and social justice podcast brought to you by NASDAD, a nonprofit, nonpartisan association mission to end the intersecting epidemics of HIV, viral hepatitis, and related conditions. Much like brewing stronger tea, this platform aims to brew a stronger community by centering community leaders' voices and their innovative work in the Southern United States.
Hey everybody, welcome to Southern Steep. My name is Rodderick Shepherd. I am a manager on the prevention team here at NASDAD, and my pronouns are he, him, his, and I'll allow my co-hosts to introduce themselves.
Hey y'all, everybody in virtual space and virtual land. Jacobi on the right here. I go by the pronouns of he, him, his. And I am joining my co-host today straight from AIDS United, where I support as a senior program manager.
How you doing, Jacobi?
You know, it feels like a Monday, but it's Wednesday, so I'm making it. What about you?
Now hump day felt like a Monday. I'm a little tired. School has been kicking my behind, and I would just be so happy when the semester is done, because then after that we'll be seniors. So I'm excited for that. How's school coming along for you?
Oh man. I am done at the end of the summer. Last degree. I'll be so happy. Not excited about these student loans, but we gonna make some shape. Apply for a few forgiveness pieces and all that good stuff. So we gonna make it happen.
So we're going to make it happen for sure. All right. So let me just give a brief introduction of our very, very special guest today. Corey Haskett is an Aquarian born in Suffolk, Virginia, to his mother and 4 siblings. He started his career in public health in 2014 as an outreach specialist with Essex AIDS Care of Norfolk, Virginia, later moving to Washington, D.C. in 2017, where he continued his career at multiple nonprofits in the area. He currently works as the harm reduction program coordinator with Us Helping Us People into Living, where he provides harm reduction tools and information to all. He's currently a junior social work major at the University of the District of Columbia. During his time at this university, he selected to be a part of Phi Alpha Honor Society for Social Workers, as well as pledge with the greatest fraternity in the world, that being Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Everyone, welcome my frat brother and my good friend, Corey Haskett. Hi, Corey.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, it's afternoon, right? Yeah, 12. Yeah, it's afternoon. We'll just say afternoon. Thank you for having me. I am definitely happy to be here and share the good work and news with the people. Thank you for that marvelous introduction. Like they say, off of Hocus Pocus. But yeah,
one of my faves.
Yeah, so I'm happy to be here.
Yes,
it definitely feel like this week is a little it is kind of dragging along. I'm not too sure what that is. Maybe it's the time change. We still haven't gotten adjusted to that, because we still got to be mindful that they did just do that time change, so it kind of feels a little bit different. The days seem a little bit longer, right?
Yeah, it's been an adjustment.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's that time, that hour change. It's kind of, we're not fully adjusted to that yet. So how can I be of service?
I love it. Fun fact. So y'all know on the podcast, I've been talking about my fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, all season. And so Corey is actually the one who brought me into the fraternity. He's what I would call my prophyte. And so I'm really, really happy to have him here with us. I already know Corey very, very intimately, because we work very closely together in our chapter at UDC. And we're also in the same program in the social work. So again, we know each other very intimately. And what I want to do is I'm going to allow my co-host to get to know Corey a little bit better. So I'm going to hand it over to Jacobi.
I appreciate that, Roger. So I certainly have heard a lot of great things about you, Corey. So I'm excited to dig a little bit deeper into, your what's, your whys, personal, professional reasons, and all that jazz. So, guess we will get started. So, what is your why? Why do you do this work?
That's a very good question. So I actually started in this work back in high school. Back in like for some reason back, I actually don't know why they were doing this. But back in like the 2008 2009 era, I moved to um, Portsmouth, Virginia, and I was going to school in Churchland. I was going to this school called Churchland High School. Um, and I was probably maybe about 15 or 16 years old. And for some reason in the area, I don't know if they might have been doing this everywhere, but they were not starting people on ARTs until their T cell count dropped to a certain level. So a lot of people were popping positive back then. Like a lot of people that I knew, friends were popping positive, and just so happened one of the people that did pop positive was a person that I actually was going to high school with, and we were like I said, we were like maybe 16 or 17 years old. They came to school one day and they were, one of the people from our local clinic from Access AIDS Care. They called my friend while we were at school, and they were like, "Hey, can you come and see us later?" So he was like, "Okay, Corey, can you come with me?" My friend, he drove, so I was like, "All right, yeah, I'll just go." Me not thinking anything of it. I went, I got tested, he got tested. For some reason, they held him in the back a lot longer than I was back there. So I was sitting out there for like hours. Like, I'm just like, what's going on? So the person that we both knew, they kept coming out and they just kept checking on me. And I was just like, yeah, I'm good. Like, where's, like, I'm mainly worried about my friend. Like, where is he at? So then my friend ended up coming out and he, I could just see it was something wrong. And long story short, my friend ended up contracting and seroconverting and was told that he was HIV positive while we were in high school. So from there, I started to volunteer at the nonprofits in the area. And I actually created a program that was a linkage, one of the first linkage to care sites in Norfolk, Virginia, at this park that I forgot what the park's name was, where they like the nonprofits used to go out to the park and test and link people to care and do condom distribution. As well as I started to go to high schools and middle schools and teach about. I used to call it sex education in the gay way. So I started teaching, going to high schools and middle schools and starting to teach sex education to LGBT youth as well as allies or people that was because you would be sometimes surprised. Sometimes some of the people would come out this way. They would kind of say, okay, I want to secretly go to this sex education just because I'm interested, and that would be their gateway to coming out. So I started doing that, and that's how I got into this field. I wanted to change the narrative of so many people that I knew because I just noticed that so many people were contracting this virus at such early ages. And not even just early ages, but so many people that I knew, I was finding out that, oh, this person is positive. But yeah, I started finding out that a lot of my friends and people that I knew were positive, and I just wanted to do something about what was going on. So that's my why.
Well, I can tell you this, all of the stuff that it sounds like you did in the beginning, you should have skipped over from frontline right into directorship because you had a little bit of outreach, engagement, program creation, and implementation. Like you did it all. So like that's kudos. And shout out to Virginia. I used to live in Fairfax. I love all of that. Virginia is near and dear to my heart. So I want to kind of build off of some of the things you talked about in terms of like the Leaders to Care program, engaging with some of the students, things like that. Were there any, when you first started, was there any specific community that you wanted to be intentional about serving? Or did you just want to like kind of attack the whole gambit? Like who were you really looking at in terms of like greatest and collective impact?
For me, it definitely was LGBT youth. I because of I just realized some of the things that LGBT youth were going through. It was because of we don't have a blueprint um, for becoming us. There's no like I said. That's why I started wanting to go to do um, seminars when it came to safe sex practices in LGBT youth because of they would have sex education, but they wouldn't have sex education for people that were participating in same sex and same sex intercourse. It would just be hey, this is the girl, this is the guy, you put on a condom, oh, she could get pregnant or whatever. It wasn't anything regarding like, okay, that's not the type of sex that I'm having. They never ever told, and they can obviously see that okay, there might be a gay girl or a gay guy in the class, but they're literally not catering to the fact that, oh, this might be an opportunity to teach them something that's going to be viable information for them. So definitely with LGBT youth. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the idea. I always tell folks like you have blueprints first and then templates. And sadly, queer men of color, any folks who identify under the spectrum, like queer identity, um, we haven't always had the most visible like representations or even examples of like what's successful or what effective, i.e., relationships, enjoyable sex. I hate the term safe sex. So like, what is safe sex? And that's another conversation. But I definitely appreciate the fact that you wanted to like leave and impart us something, and basically start a trend because I feel like you're the living template of what they should be looking to, and then they're going to become living templates because communities are going to not involve but evolve. So I love the idea that that was something that you started off with. So tell us a little bit more about like your current programs, successes, highlights, and if any of that initial work kind of bridge into what you're doing now.
Okay, yeah. So the current program that I'm running, it is a SSP or a syringe service program. So we provide safer injection supplies, safer sex supplies. We also created what we call ciphers, where we target Black gay men that use crystal meth or that participate in chemsex. So we do harm reduction ciphers where we provide tools and trainings where they can reduce harm and safer sex practices as well as drug use. Um, we also are right now, we are actually currently still in we're implementing a program at CDC where we are going to the CDC school here in Washington, D.C., the C Street location where we are going and teaching them about harm reduction and safer sex practices, excuse me. Um, what else? We provide hormone injection needles for TGNC, so safer injection supplies for people that are injecting hormones. We do Narcan trainings where we do this in community-based areas where it's churches. We have done them at uh, like training facilities for people that are electricians and stuff like that. Um, we also distribute Narcan into the community. We deliver Narcan on a weekly basis. We have so many moving parts in this program. I'm trying to think if we're missing anything else. I think that's about it.
Yeah, you got a whole thing going on, and I certainly appreciate it. And so, definitely want to continue the conversation and start talking about some of the ways that you've had to engage with the community. And so, definitely turn it over to Rodderick to kind of get into that conversation.
Yeah, and you know what, Corey, I love that you talk about the importance of comprehensive sex education, including variety of ways to explore. What is it that you said, Jacoby? Pleasurable sex.
Yeah.
Um, I, And I love the pleasure-based education narrative, but it's so important when we talk about representation. We're not just talking about on TV or in books. We're also talking about in ways that education is provided and programs and services show up in the community for people. So I thought that was really really dope. I wanted to mention that before I get into my nitty gritty. So we talked about some of the successes and some of the things that you do in your program. Can you tell me about some of the challenges that your organization face and the work that you're doing?
Yeah, definitely. Some of the main challenges that we have faced is the police. There is a lot of the police or gentrification. A lot of these areas that my team frequents for outreach, these have been predominantly or historically areas that have been open air drug markets, where there has been a history of injection drug use or just drug use in general that have now begun to be gentrified. And being that these areas have started to be gentrified, the people and the police now have tried to create these harsh tactics that have caused displacement of individuals that have been, some of these people have been out here for years. And I'm talking about, when I say years, like they have gone nowhere. They have been out there in the cold, in the heat, in the rain, sleet, hail, and everything else. Back when this area was not as pretty as it is now. So those definitely have been some of the main challenges that we have encountered. Is really people that just moved into the neighborhood and now they're just like, oh my God, they're using drugs right here. I'm just like, man, they've been using drugs right here probably for about 30 years. But you just moved here over the pandemic and now you're in a place of uncomfort because of now you live here and now these certain people live in this place that have not always lived here and now they want this area to change overnight because if they don't want to see it, they don't want to you see the substance users. They don't want to see these people that are in a bad place in life. They want to erase them and just push them down the street so they can't see them. So those are some of the main things that we definitely have been challenging in this work for sure.
Oh, I don't know if I've ever heard gentrification come up in a Southern Steel episode, but that is really, really interesting. And I can see, especially in DC, how that can be an issue. In school, we attended a teach-in with DC Justice Lab and the Harriet's Wildest Dream, where they told us information about what's going on with the DC crime bill. And within the DC crime bill, I'm really curious to see like what is going to be the impact from them declaring areas as a drug-free zone for 5 days. Like, what is the impact going to look like for the community you serve? I'm going to be really curious to see what that looks like in the future. Now that they have passed that bill.
And I understand, of course, nobody wants to live around a bunch of crime. Nobody wants to live around a bunch of filth. Nobody wants to live around hazards. I understand that. Cool. But these are still human beings. We cannot erase the fact that these are human beings first. These are people first. So with these being people first, we need to get them into resources, tap them into resources that are going to be beneficial and that are going to actually make a difference in their lives.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think there's a lot of stigma around people who use substances. And but the craziest thing, like, people use substances in a variety of ways. There's alcohol, which is more I guess societally acceptable. People smoke cigarettes, and it's a variety of different substances that people use. But you find that you go along, certain substances people are judged, and a lot of times I find that the community feels that when it relates to substance use disorders, that it's a matter of willpower and you can just stop doing drugs anytime you want to. But with certain drugs, after you pass a certain point, it's a neurological condition. What they need is services. And what does rehabilitating into, society looks like as a productive member of society, and what does harm reduction look like in these individuals where, certain things aren't happening in the way that it is.
Yes.
I hate that, I feel like we criminalize, substance user instead of giving them, treatment and, also addressing the social determinants of health that leads to them using substances. That's the conversation I want to have. But okay. I want to go on to the next question. So listen, Corey, I have a friend who does similar work in harm reduction, and I've been talking to her a lot lately, and the work is really intensive for her. She gets calls and they go out into the community to administer Narcan as well. And, the amount of overdoses that she sees, and a lot of times, sometimes it's youth that she's, responding to calls. It's very intensive on her. So I can imagine that this could have an impact on you as well. So like, how are you prioritizing, Corey? How are you prioritizing self-care and preventing burnout?
Oh, well, you're right. You already know how I am. I am definitely into for me, it's very much a once I start feeling too much, stop, move back. I need a moment. It's just that simple. You have to put yourself first. As social workers, we learn that, but you have to put yourself first. You cannot always put service first over yourself, because then you won't be able to serve anybody. You won't even be able to serve yourself. So I do a lot of things when it comes to self-care. I try to. I'm into herbal healing. So I do a lot of different herbal healing every day, like different teas. I take a lot of different herbal supplements every day. I'm actually drinking a tea right now that lowers blood pressure. I take supplements for all different types of herbal supplements and herbs for every different ailment that you possibly can think of as preventative measures. I try to take care of my body by eating healthy. I need to work out more. Going to school full time and working full time takes a lot of my time out, but I still try to squeeze in workouts here and there, as well as some days I go to the spa and drink your water, mind your business.
Yes, drink your water and mind your business. Listen, the water helps your body to keep going, so we need the water.
So get as much water in your body as you can. Your skin will look nice, your hair will look nice, but everything else will look nice in between.
Mm-hmm. Especially your skin. That's one of my tips too. When people are like, well, how do you get your skin to look so good? Well, I have a nighttime and a daytime regimen, and I drink my water.
Right.
And mind my business.
One thing I do not be understanding when people are like, I don't drink water at all. How? That's the. I know we try to meet people where we are, but when I hear that statement, that's my first thing. How? I can't. I automatically feel if I don't drink water for probably about 6 hours, I feel different. Mm-hmm. I feel weird, like something. Okay, I need some water.
Yeah, you feel like when your body is dehydrated. The other day, I had a couple of cups of water, and then it got towards the end of the day. I guess I didn't have another cup, and I was just like, I feel a little dehydrated. What's going on here? We need some water.
I can't not do it.
Yeah. Well, Corey, I love that you started talking about health when you talked about self-care, and I was having a conversation with my therapist, and he was saying there's a difference between self-soothing and self-care, and you need to know when to do which one. And I think in terms of how I love that we are promoting self-care more now, especially in the work that we all do. But I think when we promote it, we tend to glamorize self-care as going to get your nails done and going to the spa, when actually, like, self-care is also doing things to take care of your mind, body, and spirit. Going to your doctor's appointments, going to church, attending your mental health appointments, getting your dental care done. Like, all of that is a part of caring for your body that does so much for you day to day. And like you said, they have been drilling in our head for the past 2 semesters. Like, listen, y'all have to take care of yourself. You cannot service your community if your cup is on E. You have to know when it's okay to give. You have to know when you need to replenish. You also have to know how to receive. A lot of times, people have things like have a hard time receiving compliments or navigating support, and that's times when your cup can also fill. So the goal is we want our cup to overflow, and that we won't be pouring out of a supply versus the cup is overflowing into other people's cups, and you won't be dry. So I really love your response. Okay, and so my next question is, so what advice would you give organizations in the South about engaging with people who use drugs and doing harm reduction work?
So, for me, I think that I would definitely give the advice to just be open-minded. Go out into community and find these spaces where these people frequent. Like, majority of the time, when it comes to people that are actively using, they are not going to come to you. A lot of the time, you have to go to them. So meet people where they are. Make sure to replenish your cup, and just be prepared and open to help someone change. It might take a long time. Some of these, some of these shells out here are a lot harder to crack than others. So you have to be patient. Patience is key. Building that working rapport with the community, that's definitely number two. You have to take the time to build working rapport with so like, if it's a hot spot, you have to build working rapport out there. You have to go out there, show face, show them that you're actually there to help them. Even sometimes, like, this takes a little bit of time, but taking the time to introduce yourself to the dealers if they're out there. Like, don't just go out there and just start trying to do stuff, and you see that there's dealers and stuff out there, and you're just undermining them. That can go really bad. Taking time to, like, really, really work yourself into the community. Yeah. And so that's definitely my advice.
I love that. I love that. And listen, Corey, I've been with you when you have come across people that you work with in the community, and I have actually seen how you have integrated yourself in the community as a resource and a support. And I do agree, it's very important. I think a lot of times, especially when we talk about CBO work, public health, nonprofit, all of that stuff, we talk about the importance of remaining grounded in community. So that is definitely some solid advice. And I hope that our listeners are able to really take that and receive that. And so now I want to hand it back over to Jacobi to wrap us up with the last couple of questions.
Thank you, Rodderick. All right, so Corey, now we get into the fun stuff. What do you love about the South?
I am actually a Northerner, but I have grown to like the South more. I just recently went to New Orleans the weekend before last, and it was amazing. Before, I used to be scared of the South. I really did. I used to be afraid. I listened to the stereotype and stigmas of the South. and I did not realize. Well, I did realize how much culture was in the South. But like going to places like New Orleans and Alabama and Georgia and things of that nature over like the last maybe 10 years of my life, I seen how much culture was here. So definitely the culture. The South has so much culture. It is magical. In New Orleans, I went to the Second Line band on Sunday. That was like such an experience in itself that I just didn't. It was like, yeah, it was such a fun time, and you just seen how much people really cared for each other. Everybody was dancing. Like they have like a tradition there where like you'll see like the kids, they'll, because they're like they have like tomb burials. Like the kids were like dancing on like the graveyards, and they were saying this like they do that like to like add the dead into the Second Line. So like it's just like you can see how, and then you can see how much African culture still is present in like the South, in their food and things of that nature. You can see how there's so much traditional culture. So it was just, that's what I have definitely loved, began to love about Southern states. Now I probably will never move to any Southern states, but I really do like that aspect of the South.
I want to chime in right quick because you made some really, really good points that I love about, because within my own personal spiritual beliefs, I do incorporate my ancestors and celebrations, even though, a lot of people at times they feel bad for not being able to give people their flowers while they live. I still give my folks their flowers while they live, and I still engage them in, celebrations. And, I feel like we keep our loved ones and our ancestors alive by, incorporating them in various activities and saying their names and still giving them their flowers. And we do see a lot of African culture in the South. I find that gumbo is comparable to okra stew, with the okra and putting the seafood and the various smoked meats in it. So yeah, I just love that about the South myself. So I had to chime in on that. I'll let you take it back, Jacobi.
No. That was a good point. A couple of things you said. So I love the fact that there are still sectors in the South that have like strongholds, like African diaspora and all that good stuff. But I will say this about the South. The thing that folks fall in love with but struggle with at the same time, which sounds like what you're dealing with, is the concept of that culture holds on to culture. It can be a good thing and a precarious thing, because you can hold on to the good stuff, but like if it's a precarious type of culture, then yeah, it does breathe life into like that sustained stigma, like within communities in the South and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely can understand why you make those contentions. But with that being said, what would you like to see for the South? And it'd be interesting to hear your perspective, since you do say you're a northerner. Like what is something you would like to see for the South that could kind of address some of the things you've heard or experienced?
For me, I think because honestly, I've traveled quite a bit in my life, and I can honestly say that I wouldn't really say that I would add anything to the South that would change it, because the main thing I would change across the entire nation is racism. I would change is just violence everywhere. Stop the violence, raise the talent. That's how I see it. So I would, yeah, nothing else. I wouldn't say racism or anything like that, because it's racist people in the North. I've definitely experienced it firsthand, and so yeah.
No, I could definitely see that. Roger, you want to say something?
I was going to ask, so yes, racism shows up in terms of like treatment, but also in the South, what we see a lot of racism is systemic racism. So would you want to change that aspect of the South?
Yes, I would like to change systemic racism over the entire nation, because systemic racism is definitely, it's everywhere. So yes, systemic racism, of course.
Alrighty, and so Corey, last thing, how can people get in touch with you and access your program?
Yes, so people can get in contact with me at my email address. Of course, it is chaskett, CHASKETT at uhupil.org. So that's chaskett at uhupil.org, or my work cell at 202-975-8512. Again, 202-975-8512.
Alrighty. Thank you so much for joining us today. Corey, really appreciate you taking the time to tell us about your amazing program that you have going on and us helping us in your engagement with the community. And before we wrap up, I am going to go into a segment that we call Southern Charm. And I could not have Corey on the show without highlighting this program, because this is the program that actually I got my start in the field. This is the Denim Collection. So the Denim Collection is a program that is under Us Helping Us. Us Helping Us is the parent company as it relates to me and Denim. Many moons ago, I started volunteering at Denim. Shortly after I became a volunteer, they brought me on full time to be staff, and so from there, I really began to engage with the community differently. It was something I had always wanted to do, and so when the opportunity presented, I took it. Through Denim, I was able to do everything from behavior intervention, discussion groups, support groups, testing, counseling, community healthcare work. I got a lot of experience working there, so I have to highlight Denim under our Southern Charm section. So the Denim Collection is an innovative care coordination model of culturally appropriate, co-located clinical, behavior, and social services for young Black MSM and transgender women aged 13 to 34 years old in Washington, D.C. area. Consequently, the Denim Collection is a collection of essential support services and clinical services, such as access to healthy and nutritious foods to combat hunger and food insecurity, and comprehensive care services that address the whole person, such as case management, behavior, and mental health, that will result in a change and be a positive community impact for Black MSM and transgender women. And so, once again, we want to thank our special guest, Corey Haskett, my frat brother, for joining us, my social work colleague for joining us today. I really enjoyed the conversation. Jacobi, do you have any closing remarks?
I don't. Everybody stay safe. Go out and exercise your civil duty and vote if you choose. And, make sure you drink your water and mind your business.
All right, everyone. So my name is Rodderick Shepherd, and thank you for tuning in to Southern Steve.